This is the heart of the 135 telescope. It's the equatorial mount. I think this is going to cause the most grief in terms of the restoration, because there's just so much to do on it. It's a little bit different to the other Unitron mounts in that it's got this double worm drive on the right ascension. So there's a clutch at the top here that operates this small worm, which is designed to allow fine adjustments during viewing. Down at the bottom there is a much larger worm with this thumb wheel here, which is designed to be driven to allow the scope to track the heavens when the mount is in operation. This is very stiff. Okay, I've already tried giving it a little bit of a squirt with WD-40, and it's still extraordinarily stiff. So I think probably what's happened is that the grease inside the bearings has turned into varnish. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip the whole thing down. But one of the other reasons I want to do this as well is to get at this wheel and clean out all the teeth in it, because there's an accumulation of dirt and old grease in there, and to get it running smoothly, I need to disassemble it. There's some other problems as well. The declination control here. There's a worm drive underneath this as well, which you can probably just see there. A couple of grub screws missing, so it just spins in place, and it's not actually driving the declination axis either. So I'll have to replace those grub screws. A couple of other little bits of damage. There's a universal joint here which is gone. This is the clutch for the declination axis. Otherwise, it's in quite good nick. There are a couple of nibbles out of the deck axis here, which I'll fill and repaint. And there's quite a lot of cosmetic work to do on it as well. It is a thing of beauty. It's beautifully engineered, like the rest of the scope. And so I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on this and get it absolutely right. The RA axis is held in place via this threaded ring, which screws into the bottom of the RA axis. So I've got it just leaning up here at the moment. You can see that there's a bearing underneath, and I'm hoping that once I've got this out, I'll just be able to pull that wheel off. I might have to slacken off the backlash for the RA worm a little bit, but I think that shouldn't be too difficult to get out now. I've just removed this conical thrust bearing from the top of the RA axis, and it's exposed 6 screws underneath, which I think are what fix the wheel onto the housing. I'll note their positions because I don't want to have a problem reassembling it again afterwards. I've got the RA section out in open air, and I've been working on the wheel, just adjusting it backwards and forwards. It's starting to free up. I kind of think it might be a problem with just garbage in the teeth of the wheel and the worm. So what I'm going to do is give it a good clean and see if I can get it completely free. The bearings seem fine. There doesn't seem to be any stickiness there, which I'm quite surprised about. I probably re-grease them anyhow just to be on the safe side and give the mount a general bit of a going over. There's plenty of crud which I can get rid of. There's some paint loss as well. A lot of it is pretty minor. I think I might try and patch it. We'll see how we go as I do the mechanical stuff that needs to be sorted out first. In the end, those six screws were well and truly set in, and I'm just going to leave the worm wheel on the RA. I am going to give this thrust bearing a bit of a go over though. It's a little bit gummy, and I figure it's probably about time that it had a bit of a clean. So I'm just going to use some degreaser on it and then re-grease it. that feels a lot smoother now. It wasn't super gummy like some of the other bearings that I've fixed up, but it's just nice to get it re-greased. Okay, so I'll reinstall that. It's definitely a problem with rubbish in the teeth. I'll just show you here. There is just this horrible sticky amalgam of grease and dirt that's caught in here, and I'm using this little piece of twig to clean it out. So the actual teeth themselves don't show a lot of wear, and I kind of wonder how much use the scope actually saw during its life. I'm also really coming down to the conclusion that at some point it had a bit of an electrolytic event. So if you look at the wheel here, a lot of places where it looks like there's been quite specific areas of corrosion. So potentially because it was draped with a damp cloth, which was touching something else. So I guess this is a bronze wheel. Of course, a lot of the scope is aluminium. Maybe that's set up a little bit of a cell. Anyhow, it's getting easier and easier to move the wheel all the time. So I think we're getting there. With the teeth completely free of rubbish, it's doing quite a bit better. But something else that's made a major difference as well is I thought that there was a lot of play, not a lot of play, a lot of friction with the wheel, even with the teeth cleaned. And it occurred to me that maybe I should have a go adjusting the backlash. I had a look at all the various bits and pieces on the worm, and there's this wheel behind the thumb wheel, which has got a couple of spots for putting a circlip plier on there. And I thought, I wonder if I can just adjust the backlash with that. And sure enough, it's how you adjust the backlash. And so I've got it now. So there's like minimum play on the worm, but at the same time, it's turning really very, very freely indeed now. In fact, it'll just spin itself like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think the next step for the RA axis is going to be to give it a little bit of a clean up and a paint. The hand wheel here definitely needs, or thumb wheel I should say, definitely needs a bit of work. I've taken the thumbnail off the mount because it's in pretty poor nick. This is something I've noticed with the other Unitron Polarex mounts that you see discussed. There's the 5-inch that's currently got a thread on cloudy nights. So they all seem to suffer from paint loss and seem to not be very robust. So these thumb wheels see I guess they see a fair old bit of action, but I'm kind of surprised that they get the wear and tear that they seem to. Anyhow, I'm going to strip back and then give it another coat before reinstalling it, so it looks all nice and schmick. I resprayed and clear coated the thumb wheel now. It's come up quite nicely. I thought I'd just show you the reinstallation because it's not quite as simple as you might imagine. So the spindle has got two size threaded sections on it. There's a thicker section which the thumbnail sits on, and then there's a thinner section out the front that takes these two fixes with circlip indents in. So in order to get a little bit of torque onto the spindle, I'm going to unscrew this screw here. Screw it out a little bit. And so it's a little bit proud of the spindle, and I'm going to put this little piece of plastic here so that when I move the thumb screw, it'll move the spindle round, and I can screw up the thumb wheel onto the thread. There we go. Without the spindle moving. That's nice and tight now. Let's take that out. So that's well fixed, and we still have that. Oh, and just put the thread back again in a second. Okay, so then we have the two smaller fixings. that go on the thinner section. Just screw those in. And use a pair of circlip pliers to do them up. The RA access is working really nicely now. The last thing to do on this is to fix up some of the cosmetics on it. I've already filled in some of the larger gouges. There's some other bits and pieces that I need to deal with as well though. So some of the bright work I could do with a little bit of a polish up. The thumb wheel obviously I did previously. I'm quite happy with the way that's come out. Down at the bottom here, there's a fair bit of pitting in the finish, and right at the bottom you can see there's this very deep unevenness to the finish, which is very similar to what I saw on the pillar. Again, I kind of wonder if this was caught in a fire at some point to produce this very deep pitting. It doesn't look like corrosion underneath it. It looks like something that's happened to the actual paint itself. I'm pretty sure this isn't the original finish. So what I'm going to do is take this back completely to bare metal, prime it, and then respray the whole thing. Whilst the paint is hardening on the RA axis, I'm going to get to work on the declination axis. So this has got a couple of really big lumps out of the finish. It's almost like stuff has been dropped on it. And looking down at the verniers at the bottom, again we see this really bizarre crackle finish. Interesting enough, this side is pristine. Isn't that interesting? I can't help but feel that this was in an observatory or in some sort of institution that caught fire. I might go and see if I can find online if there's a unitron at Mount Stromlo. I don't think the dates are quite right for this, because I know this has been in private hands for probably decades, so I'm not sure that it can be from Mount Stromlo, but somewhere where there was a considerable fire and we got this paint damage, stuff dropping on top of the mount. Who knows? Anyhow, something to go on. I have the declination axis vernier here. This is the side of the vernier which I think got burnt, and you can see that I've had to go back to the level of the bare metal to remove that bit of texture. Still a few little pits, but I think they'll fill up fine with a new coat of paint. I'm going to put some paint stripper on this so that I can soften anything that's left in the engravings and then just pick it out. The other side is in much better nick, but again, some of the paint in the engraving has come off. So I'll also put some stripper on here, dig the old paint out and renew it. The rest of the finish is okay-ish. Obviously needs a bit of a clean in places. This side is pretty much good to go. Again, there's a little bit of bare metal there, but I don't think this is going to be too much of a problem. We're looking at the vernier now from Declination axis underneath my magnifying glass, and so I've picked out the old paint on the side which had that really bad crackle finish and had been completely blacked out. You can see there's white paint underneath it. So I'm wondering if all my speculation about it being a fire is incorrect, and whether it was just some sort of strange paint incompatibility where one of the previous owners had oversprayed the vernier. So yeah, it's like as I'm digging out the paint on these figures, you can see there's white paint underneath, and it's in okay condition. I'm actually going to resurface this I'm going to repaint this as well, because there'll be it won't be as uniform as I'd like otherwise. So this is the other way that you can do this instead of using paint stripper, which is quite harsh, is just to use a little bit of heat. So that's what I did on the setting circles. Setting circles were a much bigger job to do than this guy.
and so this is like, you know, maybe half an hour, 20 minutes work. Setting circles took me hours and hours. Here's the vernier all cleaned up. I've given it a good mop down with methanol to remove any fingerprints and residual paint stripper and so on. So I'm going to take it outside, let it dry off for a bit, and then give it a spray with Canyon Black. I'll probably leave it to dry off for a couple of days before I highlight the engraving with acrylic, purely because Canyon Black does take a thumbprint extremely well. Okay, spray time. The paint went on the vernier very nicely. You can see that there's still plenty of depth in the engravings to take the white paint. I've actually left it a little bit longer than I normally would, 3 or 4 days, because we've had a cyclone come through. In fact, if you listen carefully, you can probably just hear the remnants of it blowing and dripping away outside. The paint I'm using, Rust-Oleum, is Rust-Oleum Canyon Black, is actually quite sensitive to humidity, and when it gets humid, it does take quite a little while longer to dry. I'm going to put the paint on in a very sophisticated way. I'm just going to smooth it on with a damp finger and then wipe off the excess, and that should do quite a nice job. This is the first coat gone on with the excess wiped off. I'm going to give this a second coat. A couple of the numerals could do with a little bit more paint in them. So what happens is that you're going to build up a few layers of paint in the engraving. The first lot of paint sits down and then provides a substrate for the second lot of paint to bind onto. This second, the other vernier has got, again, it's got a couple of numerals which need a little bit more paint in, so iterative process. There's a little bit of paint left on the surface. I'm not too worried about that, because the final step will be to polish it with some white automotive compound, and that will take that off. So it's starting to look good. Not quite there yet, but getting there. I ended up giving the numerals and the divisions 3 coats of acrylic, then used that white automotive polishing compound to clean off the excess paint on the surface, and finally a coat of soft wax. It's come out really nicely. Both sides look great now, and this is indistinguishable from a non-restored setting circle. So I've got an old 60mm Unitron mount over here, and this is what an unrestored set of figures look like. So very similar, because it's from a 60mm scope as opposed to a section scope. Obviously the scale is a bit smaller, but that's come up really well. I'll put it back on the deck axis when I get back to the dark sky cabin, and I think it'll look really good with the setting circles and the RA vernier as well.
I've got the Declination axis together with the scope saddle out. So this is the last bit of restoration that needs to be done before it's put back together again and it's all functional. The deck axis has probably survived with the least damage out of all the parts. There's a little bit of paint loss. I need to clean up the bright work as well. There's a little bit of gumminess around here, which I'll take off with a bit of spirit. I'm also going to clean up these screws, the screws that hold the saddle onto the axis, because they were such a huge pain to remove earlier on. I'm going to do the same thing with these colettes as well, because they were really stuck tight in their holes. So with these guys, I'm going to clean them back and then give them a little bit of an oil as well. The controls on the axis are really smooth. The clutch is great. The slow motion control is good as well. I don't have the grub screws in that hold the worm in place. So as I rotate the spindle, you'll see that the worm is just sitting there at the moment. So fortunately, the previous owner put the put the grub screws in a separate packet, which I've now found rather, and it's really nice to have those original parts back again. So as I said, this is nice and smooth. It feels like it's been lubricated quite recently, in contrast to some of the other parts of the scope. So as I said, this is the last thing to do. I'm really excited about this. I know I've said that a few times before, but now this really is the last thing to do. And so onwards and upwards.
I've taken the gear out of the deck access because I'm in the process of cleaning out the screw holes and the collet holes, and they're absolutely filthy. And I don't want the dirt to either get on the gear or on the bearing race underneath it. So I've got a little brush here which came with a cleaning kit for my 22, and it's exactly the right size for these holes, and there's so much rubbish in here, I can't believe it. So over the years, I guess there's corrosion and dirt has got trapped in there, and it's just filthy. You can see all the dirt that's coming out of these guys. It's like no wonder the screws stuck and those collets stuck as well. It's absolutely jam-packed with garbage in there. So hopefully I'll be able to get it clean enough that I won't have that problem again. So everything's back together again now. The mount is absolutely huge. I put a 1 litre bottle of methanol next to it to give you an idea of the size of it. I guess we're used to EQ6s and EQ8s. This thing just dwarfs them. I'm really happy with the way that the restoration has gone with this part. As I said right at the start, I thought it was going to be the thing that took the most time. All the way from redoing the worm wheel and gear, the setting circles, which stand out really nicely now, that accessory RA wheel, the cradle, which was so much of a pain, all done. I'm not going to put the scope together today because we've got 20k an hour winds and it's just coming on for night. It's also the last day of this particular trip, so it'll have to be a next trip thing, but next video you see will be the entire scope all together and hopefully ready for a night of observing.